Hello, beautiful people. It's wonderful to see you guys all again. Today I wanted to tackle another frequently asked Canada Goose video, mostly because it's starting to get cold outside and a bunch of you have been asking me some questions that I wanted to tackle. Some of you have asked me to as well do videos for macaque and moose knuckles. I will be doing those videos at some point this week. I will be posting them, so stay tuned. They will be up at some point. I just can't guarantee exactly when, but they will get done this week, I swear. But aside from that, I wanted to talk a little bit about probably some of the most common sense questions that I get, and yet they're valid for having a bit of a conversation. So as per usual, I want to start a conversation with you guys. If you guys want to join in, please, of course, as always, leave your comments in the comment section down below and we can have a chat. So let's dive into the first question. First question has to do with temperature, and it has to do with the weather outside, and it's pretty simple. A lot of people have asked me this question in the comment section down below and in person, and it all has to do with when should I start wearing my Canada Goose. Now, this is totally up to you. Honestly, it has a lot to do with the weather. I think if it's lately, at least the last couple of weekends, it's been getting really cold outside. So any of you who are very sensitive to the cold, or any of you that basically the weather here in Toronto, let me give you a short description. If you're up anywhere from 5 o'clock to about 7 o'clock in the morning, or at least 9 o'clock in the morning, it's pretty cold. Like, it's below zero, or at least it feels like below zero. And then anywhere after like 10 o'clock till about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, it's probably the warmest point of the day. And then anything after that, it starts getting really cold, and the temperature drops drastically right after that. So basically that's kind of the weird spectrum we are in. It's generally the fall weather for Toronto where it's so dramatic throughout the day like that. But basically it's all just going to depend, like I always say, on your lifestyle. If you're outside bright and early, first thing in the morning, and if you're waiting for the bus, the GO train or streetcars, or if you're taking public transportation and it's cold outside and you're simply freezing on the bus stop, I say why not? Pull out your parka. If you paid the money for it, then just wear it. It's going to keep you warm. I have seen over the last couple of weekends that I've been out, I have actually seen some people wearing their Canada Goose coats, so it's not completely ridiculous enough to say that it's the end of October and you should be pulling out your goose. It's definitely an option. I say why not again. I have yet to pull out my parka. I have not been desperate enough to pull out my Trillium yet. I have mentioned this like a million times that generally when it comes to the cold, I am very sensitive and I get cold really easily, but lately because I have gained ownership over it, I have been wearing my Hybridge jacket, which I did do a review on. I will leave it in the description box down below if you guys want to check it out and see what I had to say about that jacket. I've actually been wearing that jacket mostly over the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I'd say, 2.5 weeks, on those really cold days. It's all just going to depend, again, on how easily cold you get. Last night, I went to Canada's Wonderland to go see their haunt and their Halloween haunt, and a bunch of people were running around in their winter coats. A lot of people were wearing Canada Goose. Some people were wearing moose knuckles. Again, it's just going to depend on how desperate you are to survive in the cold temperature. I know it may seem silly to be pulling out your winter parka in the end of October, but again, if you're cold, if you're outside, why not? I mean, that's what you bought it for. You may as well use it. So I say whenever you feel most comfortable to pull it out of the closet, start wearing it. It doesn't really matter. It's all going to just depend on if you want to stay warm or not. So I think that's that for that question. Moving on to the second question, which has a lot to do with the first question, and it has to do, it's not even really a question, it's more of a topic when it comes to Canada Goose and a variety of other companies, and that has to do with the rating. Now, temperature ratings. It's something that has become like the bane of my existence in the world of retail. Luckily, I'm no longer a part of the world of retail, at least not for now. But when it came to selling winter coats, in the last 2 years, this is probably the most commonly asked question that I've gotten, and it drove me absolutely insane. And it's mostly because it's so suggestive. Now, let me get this straight. As far as mostly, a lot of people always ask, you know, from the North Face to the Parajumper to the Moose Knuckle to basically any winter coat out there that's popular, does it have a rating? Now, Canada Goose didn't always rate their coats, or at least they didn't publicly advertise the fact that they've rated their coats for certain temperatures. That was something that came in the last, 2.5 years, I think? 2.5 years ago, they finally started posting it on their hang tags, which are attached to the coats when you first purchase them, and it's probably become one of the biggest pains as far as working as a sales associate, because a lot of people, one of the first questions they ask is, what is this coat rated to? It's become like basically a seal of certification that this coat's going to keep me warm. And honestly, that's not necessarily a guarantee even when they've rated the coats. Whether it's Canada Goose, recently this year, Macaj finally as well posted on their hang tags temperature ratings, which seems kind of ridiculous because let me tell you guys, a lot of the winter coat companies actually do the testing to see what their winter coats can be as far as for the weather, what they can hold up to as far as rating wise, and it's one more step that they just don't do as far as posting it on and advertising it on their tags, mostly because, again, it is so suggestive. You and I could put on the same coat with a long sleeve top in whatever weather and have a completely different experience. It's not a matter of what the coat is rated to, because it doesn't matter. The Kensington's not that warm of a coat. Let me just throw that out there. It's a fitted fashion coat. It's more fashion than function, like I've always said this, and it's rated up to -20 degrees, and I've had hundreds of women tell me that it's not that warm of a coat. Yeah, it's not that warm of a coat. It's built to be fitted, and it's built to be pretty. It's not built to be a parka. If you're outside for more than 20 to 30 minutes out of the day, and the wind chill outside is -30, you're not going to be wearing a t-shirt just underneath your coat, so you got to fit your layers underneath your coat. And second of all, you're going to need something a little bit warmer that's pretty damn thin, like the Kensington. You're going to need something heavier. Yes, the parkas, like the Trillium, aren't necessarily flattering because they're so puffy, but it's going to keep you warm. You've got to make the decision, do you want a winter coat or a fashion coat? Usually, most companies don't do both or haven't figured out a way to do both. Recently, I discovered Nobis's new collection, and I personally believe that they do an amazing job at doing both. I think they have basically, at least this year, designed the perfect fashion and function coat. But aside from that, even if you were to rate a coat like that, again, you and I could put on that coat and have a completely different experience. That's why ratings for coats are just so pointless. When it comes to a lot of coats, a lot of people have different experiences. I've had people complain when it comes to something even like the Mystique, the super long, full-length women's level 5 coat. It's basically the warmest coat that they produce for women's in the more classic collection, aside from the Expedition, aside from something like the Dawson. The Mystique was the original women's version to being the warmest coat that they made available. I've had people complain that that wasn't warm enough, and it's like a full-length head-to-toe coat. Some people are just that sensitive, and some people also don't know how to layer properly underneath their coats. Through the winter season, I usually wear long sleeve if I know I'm going to be outside for a longer periods of time throughout the day. I'm going to wear a long sleeve base layer top that's built to trap heat, and then a sweater over top of that, and then warm boots and layers and socks and like snowboard socks. Like, you got to consider your layers. That's what a lot of these companies as well, when they are throwing those ratings out there, they aren't expecting that you're just going to be wearing a t-shirt underneath your Canada Goose. That whole myth where it first blew up is just, it's complete lunacy. It's not, again, I personally wouldn't walk out the door wearing just a t-shirt underneath my parka when it's negative 40 degrees outside, or negative 30, or even negative 25. I'm not going to be the one to do that. Just saying. But a lot of these companies, when they rate these coats, most likely aren't going to be considering that you're just wearing a t-shirt. You're going to be wearing a long sleeve top, maybe have a scarf, maybe some gloves, warm boots, layers. All that stuff factors into the ratings. The ratings are just suggested. No matter whether it's Canada Goose, whether it's North Face, whether it's Macaj, Moose Knuckle, Arc'teryx, ratings are completely suggestive because it's all going to depend on your layers, what you do, and what kind of a person you are as far as how sensitive you are to the temperature. So when you're going in to purchase a coat, don't drill that into the sales associate's mind. I feel sorry for the people that still have to deal with that, and you know what, I've dealt with it for many, many years, especially in the last couple of years when that question has blown up a lot, and it's pretty common. A lot of people focus and fixate on that question. That rating is going to mean jack squat, basically. It's all going to depend as well on what's in the coat. If you have down, how much down, the fabric, the thickness of the fabric on the outside is going to be your windproofing and your weatherproofing. So as far as is it water resistant, is it waterproof? These are the types of questions you got to consider. Obviously, when you're thinking about buying a winter coat, for every average day person, consumer, just like you and I, sometimes we don't think about those questions when we go into a store. I mean, I have the benefit of having to be in retail for so many years, so I have kind of already had to answer all these questions, and I've had to do all the research and know basically a lot of these products inside out. But for any of you out there, as regular day consumers, don't fixate on those questions. Think about, is this coat long enough? The longer the coat, the warmer you're going to be, because the more of it's covering you. I know these are they're very common sense questions. Just think about it. Think about how long the coat is. Think about how puffy the coat is. Obviously, the puffier it is, the warmer it's going to be, because the more down is inside, and the fluffier and the loftier it is, which means it can trap more heat. That's the kind of stuff you got to consider. Don't fixate on the temperature rating, because that's just, it doesn't really tell you a whole lot. The more heavy duty the coat is, the heavier physically the coat is, the warmer it's going to be for you and the better it's going to work. So those are two of the most commonly asked questions. I know I only got through 2 of them today, but these are really important questions. I hope this has helped you out in some way, shape, or form to give you guys some more info about what you should be asking, what you should be looking for when buying a winter coat, whether it's Goose or any other brand. These are the kinds of things you should keep in the back of your mind. If you guys, as always, have any other questions, please leave them down in the comment section down below, or you guys can reach me through Twitter or Instagram. Check out my new website as well. If you guys have any other questions about Canada Goose, I've done a couple of reviews for a couple of the jackets, and I've written them and just posted them up there, along with some pictures and videos. If you guys want to reach me at any point, as always, again, through Twitter or Instagram is probably the quickest way. I always have my phone on me. I hope all of you guys are staying warm and are preparing for the winter to come and are having a great day. See you guys next time.